Welcome back, Steve. It's great to have you on again. Um, for our listeners, Steve is the founder and leading coach for Freedom Coaching, which is a place for people to find hope and healing from porn addiction. And they're doing incredible work. And I'm so grateful to get to have Steve on again and just to share how we can help more people find their freedom and hope in God again. So thank you, Steve.
Honored, Tom. Thank you very much for that warm welcome. It's great to be back with you today.
So I've been kind of deep diving into the health world lately and trying to understand like, well, how does mental health work with physical health? And it
Mm,
seems like there's a lot of things coming about on addiction and like what causes us to be addicted.
mm,
And I
mm,
was just curious, like from your experience and what you've helped people with, what keeps us locked into something like porn addiction?
Good question. And from the where I'm sitting in the work that we do, the term addiction is a misnomer in many cases. The term that we best like to use is compulsion. Okay, it's and because when a lot of people hear addiction, they hear the idea once hooked, always hooked. And
Oh, okay.
um, yeah, so like if you think of alcoholism is, and again, I'm no expert in alcoholism. I know other people could speak very much more proficiently on that. But many times there's a DNA, perhaps a gene. There's the idea of a gene or things like this. And when we get in this idea of addiction, what a lot of people hear is once hooked, always hooked. I will always be this way. This is just who I am. Compulsion is different. Compulsion is there is an attachment there. It's serious. It needs to be dealt with, but it can be healed. And that's an encouraging thought in this whole thing. This isn't something that we are um, trapped in for the rest of our life, right? There is a way out. So I want to make sure we set that platform first. So when we're talking about this, but there is some similarities, shall we say, right? Especially with elements of the brain and things like that. One of the things that I would say that I would like to highlight first would be that issue of dopamine. Dopamine, one of the best definitions or surrounding ideas surrounding dopamine. It is that goal-directed behavior. It's for motivation. It is for there is a great interest that comes from dopamine, and it's not about the pursuit of pleasure. It's the pleasure of pursuit. Okay. So someone who is dealing with this pursuit of um, of pornography. Just go back many, many years ago in my own being lost in the septic tank. I was at 10:30 p.m. on a Friday night. I had an itch and I needed a scratch. And so my neighbor, who was gone for the weekend, we didn't have internet at our place because we were too poor college students, grad students. But he had internet and allowed me to come over and mooch off him. But he was gone that weekend. So this is Steubenville. It's rainy. It's cold. It is um, it's miserable weather. Okay, it's Ohio weather. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. If you like the weather, wait 5 minutes. That's the old phrase, right? And so I'm in the back on his back porch, and I'm just from 10:30 a.m., 10:30 p.m. excuse me, to 5:30 a.m. searching for that one video or that one image that's going to do it all, right? So it's that pursuit that we want that in there. So that was hitting the dopamine there. Now the issue is that never satisfies, right? It never, because why? Because it's fantasy. And what people want is fantasy. What they need is reality. And so that pursuit on that, and that's so. For instance, like in take it off the realm of just pornography, and let's move to phones. All of us, I think, have this experience of smartphones, right? There's a notification that comes, bing, ooh, bing, ooh, right? The excitement of pursuing that, right? And but if we're on, just like when they started the earlier Star Wars, right? That was so very interesting when we got to see it when we were younger. And now with all the other movies that the screen is shifting every 3 or 4 seconds, these long drawn out scenes, the old ones seem boring to us. Why? because our brains have become accustomed to this, right? And so now I need something more faster, quicker, things like that. So put this in the realms of pornography, right? The original images when maybe we saw a still image or we saw just an attractive woman, and just seeing those still images isn't enough. So now what do I need? I need to go and pursue, and I want to see videos. Well, those aren't enough, right? Of that age, and then we go down another rabbit hole of eventually seeing things or doing things that we never thought we would ever do here, right? And that's that vicious cycle of bringing us downward, right? And for those who are involved with this, right, may feel as though I have no control and I have no way out of this. And in the work we do in freedom coaching, we're very, very familiar with those who are in that realm.
Hmm. That's fascinating. That's yeah, I like that term much better of it being compulsory rather than addictive.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, it does feel like it pulls you in more. Um, like yeah, I've noticed like it's easy like I mean, I guess it's like anything that we know is not great for us, like eating dessert more than we should, or like
Mm-hmm.
binge watching a TV show. Like there's always that like inner curiosity that wants to find out more, but it's really hard for us to like say, no, I have the discipline, this is enough. So, um, how would you, let's say there's someone who's struggling, what would be like the first step you would move them towards to like start breaking that vicious cycle?
Mm. Good. So, like I would say with Jesus, if we're going to go religious, the first step is going to be twofold: honesty and humility. Honesty is acknowledging I got a problem. I'm being very, very real. Humility is acknowledging where we are in our sudden circumstances, what we're dealing with, right? And when we're dealing with these things, right, um, and realizing this has become unmanageable in my life. That's where the idea of compulsion is. It's something that is not helping me to move forward in my life goals. So having that first step is going to be really, really important, right? Now, one of the first things that we ever give to any of our clients. So if anybody here listening is, realizing I've got a problem, I don't know what to do, is maybe looking at coming to work with one of our fantastic coaches, I'll give you the first homework assignment. We will teach them to make a list of 100 items for which they're thankful for. What are they grateful for? Okay. Why? If you want to get life right, if you want to get one of the foundations of the work we do with freedom coaching is focus on gratitude. Okay. Because we don't do harmful experiences
Mm,
more than once, shall we say, unless we are trying to satisfy a genuine emotional need. Okay. A wound. And so the term we use is blasted: bored, lonely, hungry, angry, apathetic, stressed, tired, turned on, emotional, depressed. It's a mouthful. That's why we say
Phew,
blasted.
that's
Yeah,
good.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And here's a secret to life. Ready? We cannot be both blasted and grateful at the same time.
Mm,
Psychologically impossible. And so we always like to say, if you want to get rid of blasted, well, then call the landlord. Your landlord is gratitude. He's really good at his job. But most of us who are not trained in this space allow blasted to live rent free in us, right? But if you know anything about California and squatters law, okay, anybody who owns the house, it's not a fair law. It's evil. It should be overtaken, overruled. Same thing here. We're never supposed to be in a blasted state. Now, let me make this very clear, Tom. It's not wrong to feel our emotions. Our emotions are what they are. They're indicators, right? So this isn't a call to suppress emotion, not by any means. That stuff, there's the old phrase that says emotions buried alive are still alive, right? So and all of those who are choosing to enter into a continual compulsive patterns, they're doing so because There's something underneath that's not sitting right. Okay. All of the pornography use, all of the unchaste behavior, it's not the main problem. The stuff underneath it. Now, the question is, this would go along with point two in pursuit of this, why?
Mm.
Are you being curious? Are you asking some reasons? Why are these things happening here? If we've taken a step back, right? Why do I keep doing this? And I'm such a moron, and then I get ticked off and upset about this. Well, if you have ever dug into, okay, what's the, and it's because I can't stop watching porn, but why? What was the initial draw to this? Right? If we don't actually get in the conversation about what's underneath that, all of the coping mechanisms we might want to use, from a web filtering device or accountability software, or lock my phone in the car, right? Or get rid of all my technology and become a Luddite. No, it's going to be only scratching the surface. We want to go underneath this, so that what's driving this, get that healed, and then Tom, then we can move forward here. And I would say especially that humility and honesty, being grateful and being curious. Those are three ways to start this process.
Mm. That's really interesting. I
Mm.
so I've been doing a few sessions of EMDR therapy,
Lovely.
and that's like what she talks about. The way my therapist was telling me about. She said that there's a lot of like it's usually like a hidden hurt
Mm.
that we never exposed and we don't understand correctly, and then we use all these other mechanisms to try to deal with that pain.
Yep.
Um, and I think the thing I've noticed or experienced with like those temptations towards porn is that you want to have the comfort of something beautiful in your life, but you don't feel like you can actually get there, like actually have a genuine relationship with a woman because of the pain you feel and you don't feel like
Mm.
you're worthy of it, essentially. Am I, is that something that you found as well, or is that just
Oh gosh, totally.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're over the mark here. Let's go there, Tom. This is really important. So think of, gosh, I'm going to get this wrong. The Trojan War. I think that's what it was. You had Helena of Troy, right?
Yeah.
You had armies, tons of men going to war because of one man and one woman's lust,
Hmm.
right? Doing this. And we've got this war raging because of lust. Now, what again, go back to the terminology of dopamine we used, right? It's not about the pursuit of pleasure, it's about the pleasure of pursuit. Okay. What's the language of pornography? What is it saying to? Getting curious here, right? It's saying that you can have this incredible beauty of which the pornified culture is programming us to believe that this is what a beautiful person is,
Hmm.
right? That you can have this person and um, and it's easy. There's no real cost. Actually, most of the pornography today is free. I can find it at a click of a button, right? I can do it while we're doing this podcast. Don't worry, I'm not doing that, right? It's empty and bankrupt, right? This is way more interesting than thousands of hours of pornography, okay? Because it's real. And but so it doesn't cost me anything. But as we talked about, this is with dopamine, the dopamine receptors. It's the law of diminishing routine, the law of diminishing return. That's I'm getting tongue tied here.
You're good.
And why? Because the more that we pursue the dopamine, the receptors actually shrink. And what brought us the satisfaction before didn't. And so the the issue on the screen, and we'll we'll go in a variety of ways here, um, is is this desire here for real relationship, is to be received as the man that I am. In fact, there are six deepest desires in the human heart: to be seen, to be known, and to be loved. And then we want to reciprocate those, to see, know, and love. We long for those, right? Now, so in pornography, if we're being programmed, that's supposed to be easy. The women are readily available to me to pursue my pleasure as much as possible. Well, that's not how it works in the real world. Tom, you're married, right? Yes.
I'm not actually.
Okay, well, then this is good advice. Here we are, right? This is good advice. This is good for advice for single men out there, but good advice for men who are married if you want to keep your wives, okay? So, real masculinity is hard. Being a man is difficult. It is a challenge. Uh, it is brutal in many cases, right? And especially if we're thinking of if there's anything true to Darwinism, right? The battle over, the fight of the evolution of the species, right? I believe in micro evolution, macro evolution from monkey to ape. I don't think so. Why are there still apes? That's what I want to know. Okay, if that's true, they just couldn't make the hump, I guess, right? Couldn't make it over. But it's about skilling up, and it is about on a biological level, is putting ourselves in a place where we are seen and viewed and received as a biologically fit mate. If we're going secular terminology here, right? On the religious end, it's on the Catholic end, is God is calling me into this work to pursue love, to win her heart, and then continuously pursue this. Well, what are we being programmed with pornography? We're being programmed to believe that's supposed to be easy. It's not. Where that beauty is supposed to be just given over to us. No, beauty is something to be won. There's an author by the name of John Eldredge who apparently he wrote a book called Wild at Heart, and he has just revamped the book, and I highly recommend it for anybody out there. And the three things in the heart of every man is a beauty to rescue, an adventure to live, and a battle to fight. Right? Those are found all in the pursuit for genuine love. Right? But if we're being programmed to believe life is all about me, which is what pornography is. My pleasures come first, and that the old Elvis song, "Satisfy Me," is supposed to be the theme song for life. We're going to end up very disappointed. Why? Because she has her own thoughts, her own feelings, her own struggles. She is looking for someone to fight for her. She is looking for her knight, but not somebody to take advantage of her, but to come in service. And what happens is with pornography, Tom, is the pursuit's supposed to be easy, but when a guy who has this compulsion goes onto public and he's deep this desire for love. Those six deepest desires are hardwired into us, and those are good desires. And so I say to you and every brother who's listened to this, especially, those desires are good. But I go to present myself to a woman and realizing, oh crap, this is not easy. She actually said no, and and quite forcefully. Now, to quote an old movie, Hitch, it might mean she really says no, or it means try harder, stupid. Okay, right?
Good line. Yeah.
It's a great line, right? And not a perfect movie, by the way, for those who are hearing this. It's not at all, but there's some elements in there that has some true and it rings true. And so me, it's a call to skill up. So what are the areas there? Right. There was a series of books years ago, so I'm not paid by them at all. But how a gentleman, it's like how a gentleman. So how a gentleman raises a glass, how a gentleman dresses, how a gentleman speaks. There's little ones, and when I was out, I bought it at a suit store years ago, and now I just buy my suits online. Right, of little things to do here, and this would be to start studying these things. And it's not about being fake so that I can manipulate a woman. No, it's a call to grow in virtue here, which again comes back to this issue of are we in possession of our sexual desire, or is our sexual desire and other desires in possession of us? Because usually, as it says, St. John Chrysostom has said that the man who is in control of his stomach can control his nether regions. So take an issue, take an image of like we always go into very early on our work. All right, what's your diet like? Especially sugar. Sugar, I say, after nicotine now is going to be the new public health crisis. You talked about starting with health here, not just diabetes, but also brain crazy. If you've ever studied anything about red dye 40, oh my
Oh
Lord.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Give those to the kids, right? If you're an aunt and uncle, if you want to pay back your brother or sister, just give your nieces and nephews red dye 40 right before leaving, and then we gotta go and watch the fireworks from the car. So, um, kidding, kind of. So, with this here, right? Where are we with our desires? So, it's a call to skill up because this is a call to love, and this is a clarion call, a shot across the bow, especially in our world, in our culture. The foundation of civilization is marriage and family. But if you have, as the Barna Group released studies of 2024, it estimates 75% of Christian men and 30% of Christian women have some attachment with pornography. Well, again, if pornography is directly self seeking and marriage and family life is other seeking and other serving, a pouring out, a death, shall we say, these are directly contradictory worldviews. These are directly opposed to one another. One has to go. And again, the more that we are focused on something, that's where our energy goes. Where our focus goes, our energy flows. And if this is where our focus is, then lifelong, permanent, self sacrificial relationships are impossible. And
Mm.
so we're looking at the devastation and literally the end of civilization as we know it. And again, whole nother, if we want to go this conversation, this is why we have right now a rise of the machines. How many people are trapped in a 3 by 5 little box for their mind? Something to consider.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of wild to think about how much, yeah, we are sucked into these cycles of, yeah, like pleasure seeking. And it's amazing how I want to ask your thought on this because I've wondered this a long time, but why is it so hard to turn off, or maybe that's not the right phrasing. How do we
Mhm.
transition from a short-term pleasure to a long-term good? Like, because I think if we understood or if we practiced that more, I think we would probably find ourselves a lot better in every way, like not addicted to our phone or not using our phones as much, um, being healthier. I think also making more good memories in our lives. What would you say is the turning point there?
Good. So, in a nutshell, let's put this here. I think there's an overarching statement, and then we'll do two undergirding principles. Here's the statement: if you want to break a compulsion or change a habit, choose to put something better in its place.
Mm,
Okay. Dopamine and the reward circuitry that we're building there and the neural pathways we're creating in the brain. If that's been our programming, that I go every time I'm in a place of blasted, especially bored, I reach for my phone. Or in the morning, right? What do most people do who have smartphones? Before waking up, they roll over and grab it, right? Well, you have to ask the question, are you in control of your technology, or is your technology in control of you? So
hmm
how do we, if we don't like the way in which we're using technology because we're finding that it's inhibiting us from doing other healthy activities, or it's inhibiting healthy relationships in the work we're doing, or we find that we're just spending too much time on the YouTube or Instagram or TikTok reels, right? Maybe it's not pornography, right? Maybe it's just technology work, right?
hmm
And then we've got to put something better in its place. And it comes down to two aspects we want to look at. Number one is tending to our inner sanctum. So, Tom, I'm just going to ask you here this because I'll treat you as a client. Tom, in this context, what do you think inner sanctum means?
I would say your thoughts and feelings, um, that usually would never share.
Okay, that's good. Okay,
Okay.
so we expand it. I would say
Okay.
our heart, mind, soul, body, strength. Our
Oh,
mind, heart, body, soul, spirit. There. That's the five. So it's us. We are intersected, which includes our thoughts and emotions. Right? Those are there. And yes, you are right that that sacred space that only God has access to. Right? And we get to choose: do we let him into that sacred space or do we not? A lot of us, because we have so much noise with these 3x5 prisons, then there's so much noise. And as we'd say to, as he said to the book of Elisha, or Elisha found out, it wasn't in the earthquake, it wasn't in the social media reels, right? It was in the small, still whispering sound, the little voice has all of us. And that voice is very active unless we try to murder it through mortal sin, right? Unless we try to smother that and not go there. And I think a lot of us are simply, we've got a lot of brokenness, especially stemming from marriage, the marriages and families that we grew up in, right? The term dysfunctional family, we all have it. I'm a hypocrite, you're a hypocrite. Let's get over it now. Now let's try to look for right. I don't have it all together. My marriage, whoo, I got issues, right? I'm working through those things. But first off, am I acknowledging that reality? Am I tending to my inner sanctum? Where am I with my thoughts, my emotions? Right? How do I address those things? And here's a sign for anybody out there. If you are struggling, or to see if social media is a problem or being on your phone is a problem, when somebody tries to get your attention, what's your response? What's your reaction? Is it, what do you want? If there's a snapping in anger, been there, done that. I'm a hypocrite. Yes, I am. I've been there, right? Because you're trying to focus. And this is the most important thing here. Last time I checked, human beings are spectacular. Being human is
yeah,
awesome.
it is. Yeah.
What we're doing, Tom, is amazing. It's amazing. It is inappropriate that we are not in the same room, right?
Yeah.
But through, like, I want to press the flesh, brother, and give you a bear hug. Have you tried to break my sternum with a hug, right? Let's do that, right? Okay. So like that's a good thing of brotherhood, right? We're embodied creatures. Again, are we using the internet appropriately right now? I think so. I think this is a wholesome conversation, and other people are going to be able to come in on this. So, what's our reaction? Or it could be somebody is saying something. Hello, hello, hey, mom, what do you need? I'm not a woman, but you get my point here, right? Okay. If we're ignoring and not being present to those who are present here, then that's an issue. And if this is happening over and over, the quality of our relationships are going to suffer. And at the end of the day, it's about our relationships. It's taken me a long time to get this. And a lot of it's come from my own woundedness, from my own past of trying to escape because there's been pain and hurt. And I've had to do a lot of work into this stuff, right? And the things don't just go away. We've got to work through it. So how do we tend to our inner sanctum? Are we conscious of the thoughts that go through us? Are we conscious of our emotions? And that's a whole nother, we can go down that rabbit hole if we want to. I just want to make sure I get these out. So that's the first basic approach there. Second approach is, are we are we moving from a place of isolation to communio?
Mm.
Uh, Dr. Haidt, who, by the way, all parents, if you have not seen this book, if you have not read this book, get a copy of it. Okay. This is Dr. Jonathan Haidt, called The Anxious Generation. Okay. The other one that I highly recommend goes along with it is, I put it back on the shelf somewhere. It's behind me somewhere, called Glow Kids. And I butcher his name. He's a doctor, so I'm not going to even attempt it right now. And the idea of the anxious generation is we are on these phones and it is not creating actual connection, and
Yeah.
especially for teenage girls. It is devastating our teenage girls, especially when you're talking about images and comparison game, but especially what those girls want, what women are built, especially all men and women are built for community. We are. Women, it's especially hardwired into them, right?
Mm.
It's built of this thing here. And and if and it's not about the quantity of relationships, it's quality. but it's not quality that is preached through social media. It's about how many likes I can have, how many followers I can achieve. I did this, which is also creating this environment of narcissism. Now,
Mm.
there's another book I was just told about. I'm going to speak in great ignorance here. It's the philosophy of money. I don't know who it's about. I was literally told about this yesterday. It's on my to-do list to read. And one of the things one of my friends was sharing was in the 1950s, there was there were two devices. You had the radio. Okay, maybe three. All right, you had a landline phone, fine, but I'm not talking about that right now. You had a radio, and you had TV. And most people, actually all people, had three channels. The president came on as a kid. Okay, good night. My night's over. Right. But every night, it's described as it was like the Super Bowl Sunday. They would gather on the TV and it was a shared experience, right? And so there was still some semblance here. Now, again, the devil got in there. And as Anton LaVey, who is the former chief high priest, Satanist high priest, said, this is Satan's altar, was the TV. More and more crap came in through the TV, and now it's coming through our computer and our phones and internet, right? That's an important thing to pay attention to. But it was a communal experience, and we're built for community. But how are we? What's happening right now, right? If I'm the devil, the best thing you want to do is divide and conquer. How do we do this? We put people on their devices, give everybody social media platforms where I'm posting about what's important to me, and you should pay attention to me. That is where influencers come in, right? And we get more and more influencers, but we're more and more empty here. But again, that dopamine hit. Oh, I got another follower. Let's do this again. Feeds the beast. And so we're creating this environment of people who are either diagnosed or they have the traits of being a narcissist, where it's about me. I don't need help. It's about my world, and I'm constructing a world about here. AKA, I am my own God. God, small d. Right? And this is devastating for genuine relationships. Also, when they get this is why a lot of people are reporting, I don't want to be around people. I was in a conversation with a self-professed
Wow.
Christian who's like, I don't want to be around people anymore because people are just the worst. I'm like, why are you a Christian? Like, the church exists not like this is why 2020 and 21 and 22 was such an offense to so many of us who were locked in, locked down, right? Because we want the embodied experience. The body matters. What we do with our bodies really matters. It's not meant to be a Cartesian dualism coming from Rene Descartes that we are simply focused what's in our mind and we ignore our senses or we distrust the senses. And what this does when we do that play along, I'm distrusting my senses around here. I'm distrusting you. It's creating this environment of suspicion, right? And this is a breakdown of civilization because if we can't trust each other,
Mm-hmm.
we can't build community together, right?
Mm.
So then the question here, then for all of us, and I hold myself accountable to this, right? And this is why I every Tuesday morning I meet with brothers in arms, Catholic brethren in arms, who can call me on my BS. They know I'm the founder of Freedom Coaching. I don't care, Pokorny. How are you treating your wife? Well, build that conversation, right? And so, but the brother being in person is so important. And I will fight to the death for these gentlemen because
Mm.
they're helping me to become better. If we're simply in our own sound box that's soundproof from the echo chamber, there's the word I'm looking for, the phrase. Then nobody can call me out of my BS. And this is especially for Tom, for any other singles out there, right? I have to go and put myself out there. If I'm not paying attention to what's my how am I dressing? How am I what's my bathing? Right? Am I taking care of myself? Am I getting a haircut? Right? All those on those basic things. But also the most important thing is, am I developing the virtues that allow me to be a servant? And it's only in communio and being tested. I think this is why Jesus called 12 men together. Men, like, you have the zealot and a tax collector. How was that initial conversation? How did that go down? Or the first 30 conversations, right? Side of the eye. Like, Matthew probably slept with one or both eyes open because, like, the zealot's like, he's got a sharp knife, right? But so metaphorically speaking, we need to get into these situations where people have sharp knives. Metaphorically speaking, like that they're going to test me, that they're going to help me help me to become to grow, get out of myself, right? But then also we want those who have sharp knives who are going to watch my back, who are going to watch my six, and are going to grow that, right? So
Totally.
so there's two things here, right? One is what are we doing with our inner sanctum, and two, are we moving from isolation to communion? Because it's the isolation that's killing us, which means it's just like any man is called to ask a woman out. Okay, women should not be asking men out because it sets the precedence for that he doesn't have to work for. He just can get it easy, which is the message of pornography. He needs to put himself out there every day to be challenged.
Mm.
We're kind of shotgunning here, but I think it's appropriate for where we're
Ah,
going.
no, that's very interesting. I think that's another thing with so I've been thinking about this a little bit, but there's when we have these seasons of pain, when we're in the moment of pain, it's really
Mm-hmm.
hard to remember when you weren't in that pain and to think about a time when that won't be. But I remember things like for instance, I was doing this roofing job on a big house in June
Mm-hmm. Cool.
and it was hot, it was like probably
Mm-hmm.
110 up there or so. And I was doing that. It was a big roof, so it took a month. Like it was a month of work like that. And looking back on it now, I'm like, oh, that wasn't so bad. But I remember like being in that moment, I'm like, this was rough. And it's kind of like what you're saying, like having a group of people around you. I think a lot of times um, we lose hope that we'll actually escape the or leave the pain we're in. But we're also scared to face it while we're in it too. So it's like we're in this limbo state of like we don't really know who we are because we don't know if our character is the person who wants to run away or the person that wants to fight it. We're kind of just hoping it'll go away on its own. But I think at least as being a guy, that's definitely a struggle we all have is like either personal problems, things at work. Um, what would you recommend to be like to become the man that would win the woman, that would break away from pornography, that would lose the compulsion to use phones um, as like a consuming thing instead of being a creator with using a good tool? What would be like your first or maybe your primary trajectory movement men should do?
Great. This itself is a podcast in itself. This is a book itself. So the Tom, do you know what lore is?
Laura's in like history type?
Okay, so you could have that. I'm not talking about the Lorax. That's a whole Dr. Seuss thing, right? Lore is the difficult moments in life. It's like
Oh,
it's a major car accident, for instance. Something totally, we go camping and the roof of the tent explodes with water. Okay. When you're in the midst of that, this stinks. I got more choice words, but I'm trying to be very PG here, right? Okay. It stinks. Oh, right. And that is difficult. And again, to bring this back to the issue of pornography, right? Pornography is training us to be easy, but masculinity and life itself is never easy. It's hard. Okay. And lore, when you are going through lore, when you're going through pain, it's never easy. For myself, I lost both my parents within about a year and a half when I was in high school. That was lore. That was pain. I had to grow up very fast. And there are still wounds here. And actually, Tom, you mentioned about like seasons of pain, right? I'm realizing there might be some other stuff of my past regarding attachment stuff. If you haven't explored attachment science, this is fascinating stuff, and I cannot speak accurately on it, so I will just mention it. I think this is where God is calling me to go. And right now, I'm looking at this like, oh boy, and there's fear there. Oh Lord, Lord, really there? The best advice I can give. By the way, if you want the anxiety nuke, here it is. Oh Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. Right? It's
mm,
an anxiety nuke. There's also novena that goes along with it. It's the surrender prayer. Right? If we're heading into lore, we can fight against it, right? And usually we're going to get a backache or toothache or whatever, right? We're going to get that anyway. Pain is going to happen, right?
mhm.
the way in the perspective we take on it, misery is optional.
Mm.
Suffering is going to come. And as Mother Teresa has said, um, if you're going to love, you're going to this desire, gentlemen, that you have inside your heart to love, the six deepest desires, and um, of, especially with love there, right? To love is a challenge. And it is the call, the way of the Christian, is the way of the Catholic. And if you do not take up your cross every day and follow me, you cannot be my disciple. So if we have an attachment to our phone or laptop or technology, especially regarding pornography, there's going to be a death that you are looking that's going to happen. There's no other way around it. It's going to hurt. Okay. But think about if we're let's use a sports analogy, right? Okay. Like you ever play sport, Tom?
Yeah, I've played frisbee and a few others, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go to football if you're on a team. I was never on it myself. I do play frisbee. My knee says otherwise, but I'm working on getting my knee healed right now. So, but football, say somebody in high school or college, right? They sometimes do two-a-days. They hit the weight room. They got to watch what they eat, right? They're getting to bed early. Right? Why are they doing those things? It's because the coach hates them, right? No, it's because the coach wants them to be better. What's the goal? To be better? No, the goal is to win. The goal is to run the scoreboard or the score up 100-0 against the opponent and shove it down their throat. We want to do this, right? That's a game. Life is more of a game. Life is the arena that God has called us into to live and grow in love and to become a saint. That's what we've been called into. So you're gonna have difficult moments. So just like when if you're not used to working out, it's gonna hurt. If you haven't done a sit up in your life or a pull up, oh my gosh, your stomach and your arms are gonna and your back is gonna hurt, right? But what do? Well, we feel that wall, and then we ask for grace. This is the way of the Catholic. Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. What do you want me to do? Push through it. You push through that pain, okay? And every day. And I choose to when the cell phone comes calling, a gentle no. Don't berate yourself. Don't beat yourself up. And there's going to be some noise there. We can talk about what to do with those words and phrases that come in, things we call uglies and vows. But a gentle no. Give that surrender over. Okay, what do you want me to do, Lord? And what we want to do is choose something better. It's something better in its place, right? So make a list of those things on the blasted list, right? If you haven't created your blasted list, what are 10 things you could do, right? Instead of going to pornography that has some semblance of pleasure, that's objectively good, that's
Hmm.
objectively going to be helping us move into virtue, right? And what can happen is over time, that lore can become glory, okay?
Mm.
This is where 3 years, like the car, the that camping experience, which was terrible, was horrible. Oh,
Hmm.
3 years later, you're sitting around a campfire and like there are people are sharing stories. Oh, you think that was terrible? Let me tell you this terrible story, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like my 12 plus years of attachment to pornography stunk. It's not fun. Thinking I'll never get out of this. But I followed the process that God called me to. And now we use that process of liberating others, and it's fun. Glory is fun when we're doing what God is calling us to do. There's peace in our gut. We're following that. Oh my gosh, this is when life really comes alive.
Wow. I really like that. Yeah, it's it's true. There's a song I listened to. It's called "100 Bad Days," and like the
Hmm.
first line is "100 bad days makes for 100 great stories that makes for 100 great moments later."
Who's that by?
It's by AJR.
Okay, I don't know. I have to go to
Okay.
AJR. I'm feeding me new music. I'm all about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I do think they use Our Lord's Name in Vain and Once in that song, which has me
Okay.
bugged. But I think there is a clean version.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I heard that I was like, whoa, that's really profound actually, because
Mm,
um, I think in the daily moments we're like, oh, I wish this wasn't happening.
mm,
But then like as you're saying, there's never gonna be any glory moments that we can share with someone else. And I think those is where
mm,
that's where we really bond with people. when we have a shared experience that we also had some pain or something and we got over it, then you can laugh about it and you realize this wasn't everything. It can feel like everything in the moment. When the tent explodes, you're like, oh, not now, you know? But then later, you can rethink about that time with your friends and you're like, oh, this was great. You know, that was a fun time.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think there's so much power to be said about having true friendships, community with people that you want to spend time with. And I like going through college and like after, I've realized how many transitions in my own life I've had. And I've realized so many people stuck together with me that now I realize that I'm so grateful for their friendship the whole way along. And now I feel like I can even be a better friend to them.
Mm.
So, how would you say, this might be after the last question, but
Bring
what
it,
would
bring it.
what would be like your um try to phrase this the correct way. What how should people use their transformation from a compulsion towards victory? How should they view themselves? Should they think like I can now help others? Should I realize I'm more the person God made me to be? Like, because sometimes I guess to me, I don't know how to handle when I do win. Because I just keep looking back at the times I failed, and then I keep thinking that'll discourage me from a good future.
Great question. So, introducing to you, Mr. Tom, the day zero approach. Okay. Stop counting days. Like, oh, I just did this for 10 days or 3 days. Don't even count. Like terrorists, toddlers, and teenagers, right? Don't do that. Okay.
Mm,
Um, Focus on today. Today is a day of redemption. Jesus Christ is present here. He was sent by the Father to die for you specifically. Okay. And it doesn't mean we ignore the past. No, those things that I mentioned, those things undergirding it, right? We do deal with that stuff, but it doesn't have to control us. So it's day zero. And what's tomorrow? It's day zero. The next day is day zero. I'm going to focus on that, even in these lore moments or lore weeks, or maybe it's a lore year, okay, or it's a lore acts. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I'm a dad. Um, right? Even if it's those, right? I can still draw on redemption that He's with me on this. And so I would also just encourage, right, on this whole thing is, to your starting point is recognizing that you are lovable, that you are good. We are not, and with apologies to my evangelical and Protestant brothers and sisters who may hear this, right? Martin Luther was wrong. We're not dunghills covered by snow, right? Where snow sometimes crap comes out, right? And that's what Jesus came to do. He came to come and to heal this, but also realize I'm lovable, but I can't do this on my own. I
mm,
was never meant to do this on my own. If the blessed Trinity, the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, are dependent upon each other, intrinsically dependent, why do you think what would give us the idea to think that we're to do this on our own? Where do you think that voice is coming from? Could it be Satan? Right? No, we were never meant to do this on our own. We're meant to do this others, right? And then what I also say, especially along these lines, are it's going to be hard. And in your heart, and I'm speaking especially to gentlemen here, we don't want it easy. If it's just given over to us, this is why the offense of, we're going to play with an invisible ball and everybody gets a trophy. Lame. No,
yeah.
there's a rebelling, right? No, I want to earn it. I want to fight for it, right? But again, let's also make this clear. In this journey here, this freedom from compulsion, it's not something you can do on your own power. We must open ourselves up to grace, respond to grace with others who are going to walk this journey with us. That's where the work in freedom coaching can be very helpful. You find another mentor who knows how to actually solve the problem, do that. And where we find where people who get stuck in this is this idea that I'm not tending to my inner sanctum. I'm staying isolated and I'm getting my own way. And but know this, that what that cycle is, that cycle of loneliness, of that guilt and the shame, is devastating. But there's a way out of it. And so, are we willing to look at this a different way? And are we willing to do something that might feel a little weird, a little different, a little uncomfortable? Are we willing to get out of our comfort zone? But I promise you, the best things in life are on the other side of comfort. The best things in life are going to be those things that we've we've chosen into to respond to grace, to grow in virtue here. And by the way, this journey never ends. But to get it's kind of like video games, right? I wanted to put that analogy. You can't get to level 3 until you get to finish level 1 and 2, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the question is, will you put the device down, stop playing video games, get into real relationships, and start being real with the gaping wounds that you have, so you can move forward and become the man or the woman that God has called you to be.
So well said, Steve. It was a real pleasure having you on today, and hopefully we can do this again soon. It's
Let's do it.
always,
It's fun.
yeah, always love chatting with you, and I have so many notes already from today. So thank you for sharing all of these, I guess, words of wisdom. I was thinking about that. Wisdom is the love of philosophy, and that's the understanding of truth. So thank you for sharing what you've come to realize in life as true and sharing that with others. So,
Crystal,
yeah,
an honor, Tom.
until next time.
Awesome.